So this lesson is about adaptation in plants. So, first of all, plants need water to photosynthesize, but also to keep the tissues upright. Without water, basically, photosynthesis will stop and the plant will wilt and die. So just a little bit of a recap on the transpiration stream. So transpiration is the process by which water moves up a plant and is evaporated and lost through the stomata of the leaves. So in the leaves, the stomata have to open to allow gases in and out. So it needs the carbon dioxide for photosynthesis that will go in through the stomata, but at the same time that is where most of the water is lost, through the stomata. So water is lost through the stomata, and then because water molecules are cohesive, like sticky, it will mean that as water is lost through the stomata or evaporated through the stomata, water will be pulled up to replace the water lost, and then at the roots, water is absorbed into the roots by osmosis, and then it will travel up through the plant. So the transpiration stream, it goes in through the roots, it's pulled up through the xylem, and then it's evaporated and lost at the stomata. So if you have a plant that lives in very hot, dry conditions, then the easiest way to reduce water loss is to reduce the surface area of the leaves, because that is where most of the water is lost. Some xerophytes as well will also store water in their tissues. So some adaptations, as I said before, you lose a lot of water through the leaves, so reducing their surface area to volume ratio can reduce the amount of water loss. Some desert plants have large leaves which funnel the water towards the root, so that any water that does evaporate will just then trickle down back into the soil, which they can then take up again through their roots. If you have a plant that lives in a very dry environment, such as marram grass, so marram grass lives on sand dunes, so the soil, well, it's basically just sand. There isn't much water or much nutrients which can be retained in that, and it's also very windy on some of the sand dunes, so it's quite a dry environment. So what happens is this marram grass, if you took a cross section of that, you would find that the leaves are actually curled up. So the stomata are sunken in pits, and there's also there's quite a lot of hairs which trap a layer of humid air to stop any water being lost. And the fact that the stomata are in these pits, this just traps a lot of humid air in the middle, so less water is lost through the stomata. There's also thick waxy cuticle on the outside to reduce any water loss through the top of the leaf. So most plants will have a thick waxy cuticle to stop evaporation from the top of the leaves. Some cactuses will also have fleshy leaves, and they'll also have spines to stop predators, stop herbivores from stealing the water, from eating them really. So again, this is just a bigger picture of the marram grass. As I said before, it's rolled, the leaves are rolled so that it traps a layer of humid air in the middle. The stomata are sunken in pits so that there's humid air which is trapped around there, so less water is lost through the stomata. There's also hairs on the inside of the leaves to trap any water, and there's a thick waxy cuticle around the outside. So some cactuses also store water in their leaves. They have fleshy stems, so they're known as succulents. They also have quite an extensive root system, so they'll have quite short roots to catch any surface water if there's like a flash flood, but they'll also have really, really long, deep roots to get any water that might be in pockets deep underground. There's also plants have adaptations to stop insects from eating them, so they might have quite a bitter taste, so that deters insects from eating them. They might have poisons, they might have thorns. So nettles, they have a sting which deters the predators from eating them. So if we look in particular at the adaptations of a cactus, cactuses have fleshy stems, they have a thick waxy cuticle to reduce the water loss. They have narrow leaves which are basically reduced to spines, which stops predators from stealing their water. They have very widespread root networks, so they have some shallow roots to catch any flash flood surface rainwater, and they also have very deep roots to get any pockets of water deep underground. So adaptation in the rainforest, obviously the rainforest has quite a lot of rain, so they will probably need to get the rain off their leaves, so they have pointed tips so that the rain just runs off, and their leaves are also divided into sections to help the rain to run off. There's also adaptations of some plants that live in poor nutrient and also acidic soil. So the sundew is an example of a plant which traps insects for nutrients. So the insect will contain a lot of protein, so that's where it will get a lot of its nutrients from. And finally, any plants which live in the cold tend to have quite a rounded shape, again to reduce the surface area exposed so they don't lose as much heat, and they have that shape to insulate the inner parts of the plant. And that concludes the adaptations of plants.